What we're going to talk about and what I'm going to show today is how to make a vertical antenna that will work on 20 meters, and we'll discuss some other bands that it works on. And this is made all out of things that you can pick up from your local home improvement place like Lowe's or Home Depot. And let's take a look at it. What this is made of is out of a extendable paint pole. This one just happens to come from Lowe's, and it's 24 foot long. It has 8 foot, I believe, on the fiberglass bottom, and then it has two extendable sections that are made out of aluminum. And let's look at what we did to construct this here. First off, because the sections are aluminum, they conduct very well the signal from the radio. And this is anodized aluminum, and one thing that I found was that because it was an anodized aluminum, I could not connect a wire directly to the pole. So what was required, if I can show you here, is there where this bolt goes in, I had to file a little bit off the finish of the pole itself, and that was in order to make an electrical connection to connect the hot lead from the coax to the cable itself, or to the pole itself. Now, when it comes to the second section, you can get some RF coupling up there at that second section, between the first and the second section right there where you see that. But what I did, just for, I guess you could say for my sake, for my conscience, was I drilled 2 holes, and again kind of filed the finish off of that so that I could make a good electrical connection with an ohm meter. And then I ran, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a jumper that goes between the first expanding section and the second expanding section. And it's just a short piece of wire with some brass bolts. Now, I used brass bolt because that's what I wanted to use. You may be able to use something else, and I just used some wire that I had around the house, some 16 gauge speaker wire. Okay, inside this right here is just a coax connector, and what I have is the center conductor comes to the top of this that I made out of PVC, and the shield goes to the side. And what this is for on the side is for ground radials. And if we look down here, you can see that I have a short piece of wire with a alligator clip going to some band right here, and then my radials connect to this band, so that when I get ready to make a disconnect, all I have to do is grab this right here and disconnect it, and my radials are disconnected from my PVC here that has the coax connected to it. So it's very easy to take apart, put back together, and such as that. Now for the ground radials. I have 2 sets of ground radials, and there's a shorter set and a long set. This first set is approximately 2.5–3 meters long. And what this first set does is it allows the antenna to resonate on 20 meters, 14 megahertz, and we'll look at that in a minute. And then I have another section right here. These radials are, if I remember right, about 6.5 meters long. So there's 2 6.5 meter radials and 2 radials that are about 3 meters. What these 6.5 meter radials do is also allow this antenna to resonate on 10 megahertz. So we get 14 megahertz and 10 megahertz, all with this same setup right here. Now let's talk about between the first and the second section of the aluminum pole. Like I said a minute ago, you don't have to drill the pole itself and put a jumper in between there to get RF coupling when you start to transmit or to do SWR reading, because the RF does couple through the anodized aluminum. But again, just for my conscience and to have a good DC electrical connection where I could just test it with a meter, I did put a jumper between the first and second expanding section. The way this is mounted to the ground, I don't have it set into the ground. I simply have a farm fence post right here that I have driven into the ground about 2 foot. There are no guides on this antenna. Its total length, it's about 24 foot tall. The two aluminum sections together add up to about 15 foot. And if I remember right, the fiberglass pole was somewhere near 7.5, 8 foot, something like that. So it works really good. And one other thing that I can say is that if you take off this right here where the coax connects and you attach a 64-to-1 unon, the antenna will also resonate as an end-fed half wave on, I believe it was 15, 12, and 10 megahertz. So, and this is without any ground radials or anything else. But you do have to put either something to keep the common mode currents when you put this on here out of your radio. Particularly on the 64-to-1 or 49-to-1 unon, if you use that. I used a 64-to-1, and I had it resonated really well on 15, 12, and 10 megahertz. So anyway, now what we'll do now is we'll go inside and let me show you the SWR reading that I'm getting off of the current setup. I will not put a 64-to-1 unon on it at this time, but just take my word for it. It does work. Now, some people may say that there's going to be a lot of loss. You're not going to talk very far on this, but I can tell you, I personally have talked to Italy, Spain, Lithuania, other places in Europe, and southern Chile from here at my house using this antenna right here. It propagates very good. And antenna modeling with the height off the ground and everything else says that the radiation pattern peak for this setup is at approximately 20 degrees. So it radiates very well. And let's go inside and look at the SWR readings now. Okay, what we see here is that currently marker 1 is at the low end of one part where it resonates, and we see here that it's resonating at 14.06 megahertz. And our SWR reading is about 1.9, which is very acceptable. So it's resonating very well at 14 megahertz. And to make my point about it resonating at 10, we can see that we also get, with the longer radials, that it resonates at 9.9, guess that's about 9.9 megahertz at the bottom of that section right there, 10 megahertz. We're getting a 1.5 to 1 on our SWR, which is very acceptable on its own. And if you have an antenna tuner, then you can make it even better than that. So anyway, there's one thing that I'm going to do, and let's go back outside and I'll show this before we close this video. So stand by. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do, and I'll make probably another video about what I'm going to mention when I get completed, is currently this resonates at 20 megahertz the way it is right now. Well, it's about 15 foot tall with the aluminum section. So what would it take to make this resonate at 40 megahertz? Well, you could do a couple of things. You could either put a loading coil on it right here where our current connection is, and I have done that. I have made a loading coil to put there, and it will resonate on 40. But what my plan is to use this right here. I have an 18 foot antenna, expandable antenna, telescopic antenna. I think it's 18 foot 5 inches. And what I'm going to do is the top of this pole is aluminum. I'm going to drill a hole and I'm going to tap the end of that pole to accept a thread, because this antenna has I believe it's a M10 metric thread, M10 by 1.5. I'm going to tap the top of this pole right up there at the very top, and I'm going to put this on there. Then we're going to expand this to whatever level it takes to make this antenna resonate on 40 meters. That's the goal. We'll be able to do 40 meters with the current attachment right there. We should be able to do 40 meters, and that's a quarter wave height antenna on 40 meters. And we should be able to take the 49 to 1 un or 64 to 1 un, put it right here at this place, and make this a resonant in-fed half wave on 20, 15, 12, and 10 meters. So we'll see how it goes adding this right here, and I'll make an updated video after that. So hope somebody finds this interesting. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Tune in. I'll be making some other videos showing what I did. I tend to do a lot of homebrew antenna stuff. Doesn't take a lot of money. You can have a very effective antenna, and we'll continue on in the next video, so stay tuned.